In the ancient land of Uz, a man named Job lived a life of righteousness and prosperity. He was blessed with a large family, 7 sons and 3 daughters, and vast wealth, including thousands of sheep, camels, oxen, and donkeys. Job was known throughout the land as a man who feared God and shunned evil. His days were filled with the joy of his family and the bounty of his possessions. His children would hold feasts in their homes, celebrating their birthdays and inviting each other to share in the festivities. Job, ever mindful of his children's spiritual well-being, would ensure they were purified before each celebration, offering sacrifices to God in the hope that his children had not sinned in their hearts. One day in the celestial realm, the angels gathered before the Lord, and among them was Satan. The Lord, observing Job's unwavering faith, remarked to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." Satan, always seeking to tempt and corrupt, challenged the Lord's assessment. "Does Job fear God for nothing?" He asked. "You have put a hedge around him and his household, and everything he has you have blessed. But now stretch out your hand and strike everything he has, and he will surely curse you to your face." The Lord, knowing Job's strength of character, granted Satan permission to test him. "Very well," he said, "everything he has is in your power, but on the man himself, do not lay a finger." And so Satan unleashed his wrath upon Job. Messengers arrived one after another, bearing news of devastating losses. The oxen and donkeys were stolen and the servants slain. The sheep were consumed by fire from heaven, the camels were plundered by raiders, and his beloved children perished in a sudden storm that collapsed their home. Job, heartbroken and devastated, tore his clothes, shaved his head, and fell to the ground in worship. "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart," he declared. "The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised in all this." Yet Job did not sin by blaming God for his misfortune. He remained steadfast in his faith, even in the face of unimaginable suffering. The angels again gathered before the Lord, and Satan, eager to continue his torment, boasted about Job's resilience. "He still maintains his integrity," he said, "though you incited me against him to ruin him without any reason." The Lord, impressed by Job's unwavering faith, challenged Satan once more. "Very well," he said, "he is in your hands, but you must spare his life." And so Satan, unable to break Job's spirit, inflicted him with painful sores from the sole of his feet to the crown of his head. Job, in his agony, scraped himself with a piece of broken pottery and sat among the ashes. His wife, overwhelmed by their misfortunes, urged him to curse God and die. "Are you still maintaining your integrity?" she asked. "Curse God and die." But Job, unwavering in his faith, replied, "You are talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" In all this, Job did not sin in what he said. News of Job's suffering reached his 3 friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. They traveled to Job's home, intending to comfort him, but seeing his disfigured state, they were horrified and could only weep and offer silent condolences. Job, in his despair, cursed the day of his birth. "May the day of my birth perish, and the night that said a boy is conceived," he lamented. "Why is light given to those in misery and life to the bitter of soul? Why is life given to a man whose way is hidden?" Job's friends, distressed by his lament, attempted to console him. Eliphaz argued that Job's suffering was a consequence of his sin. Bildad suggested that if Job was truly upright, God would restore him. Zophar urged him to repent and seek God's forgiveness. But Job, maintaining his innocence, insisted that he had done nothing wrong. "I am blameless," he cried. "Why must I suffer?" The debate continued for days, with Job defending his integrity and expressing his anguish. Despite his suffering and the accusations of his friends, Job never wavered in his faith in God. "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him," he declared. "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on the earth. I myself will see him with my own eyes." As the debate raged, a powerful storm gathered, with dark clouds swirling and lightning flashing. Job, standing in the midst of the storm, felt the raw power of nature as the voice of the Lord thundered from within the whirlwind. Finally, the Lord spoke to Job out of the storm. "Who is this that obscures my plans with words without knowledge?" he asked. "Brace yourself like a man. I will question you, and you shall answer me. Where were you when I laid the earth's foundation? Tell me, if you understand, who marked off its dimensions? Surely you know who stretched a measuring line across it. On what were its footings set, or who laid its cornerstone? While the morning stars sang together and all the angels shouted for joy, can you bind the chains of the Pleiades? Can you loosen Orion's belt? Can you bring forth the constellations in their seasons, or lead out the bear with its cubs? Do you know the laws of the heavens? Can you set up God's dominion over the earth? Can you hunt the prey for the lioness and satisfy the hunger of the lions when they crouch in their dens?" The Lord continued to question Job about the mysteries of creation and the natural world, emphasizing his own power and wisdom. Job, humbled and awed by God's words, replied, "I am unworthy. How can I reply to you? I put my hand over my mouth. I spoke once, but I have no answer. Twice, but I will say no more." The Lord, satisfied with Job's humility, spoke again, further illustrating his might and sovereignty. Job, realizing the vastness of God's power and the limitations of his own understanding, responded, "My ears heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." After the Lord had spoken to Job, he turned to Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar. "I am angry with you and your two friends," he said, "because you have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has. So now take 7 bulls and 7 rams and go to my servant Job and sacrifice a burnt offering for yourselves. My servant Job will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer and not deal with you according to your folly. You have not spoken the truth about me as my servant Job has." Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar did as the Lord commanded, and the Lord accepted Job's prayer. After Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes, giving him twice as much as he had before. All of Job's brothers and sisters, and everyone who had known him before, came to his house to eat with him. They comforted and consoled him over all the trouble the Lord had brought on him, and each one gave him a piece of silver and a gold ring. The Lord blessed the latter part of Job's life more than the former part. He had 14,000 sheep, 6,000 camels, 1,000 yoke of oxen, and 1,000 donkeys. He also had 7 sons and 3 daughters. The first daughter he named Jemimah, the second Keziah, and the third Keren-Happuch. Nowhere in all the land were there found women as beautiful as Job's daughters. Their father granted them an inheritance along with their brothers. After this, Job lived 140 years, seeing his children and their children to the 4th generation. Job died an old man, full of years. Job's story is a powerful testament to enduring faith and divine sovereignty. Through his immense suffering and ultimate restoration, we learn about the complexities of human suffering, the importance of unwavering faith, and the mysteries of God's purposes. Job's story encourages us to trust in God, even when we do not understand our circumstances.